Hello everyone, so this is Bobby Paluca and I owe you guys an update, big time. So I think my last pregnancy video was either at 30 weeks or maybe 32 weeks, and a lot has happened since then. So I did actually give birth to my baby Ariana, and she is a guest here. I'll show you her at the end of the video, and hopefully she'll cooperate and sleep all through the video. So I have to say that I wasn't quite expecting to have a preemie, and um, Ariana was actually born at 34 weeks, so she was 6 weeks early. I guess the doctors did tell me that they didn't want me to go past 39 weeks. So I was preparing and thinking beginning of June, as my due date was June 13. And then at some point, I skipped my April appointment because it was the COVID time, and going to a hospital wasn't quite the safest thing to do. So I decided to just skip that appointment and then do the next one in May. However, I did find out that I had high blood pressure, and I used to go to acupuncture, and it helped because it was helping to balance my body and my energy. And once the business is closed, and once the COVID kind of a social distancing and all that happened, then I knew I wasn't going to be able to go and get my treatments at the acupuncture place. So I kind of knew the trouble might have been around the corner. So I decided to, I had my appointment scheduled for May, not May 4th. No, it was, I think it was May 4th. And then on May 3rd, I decided to go to the hospital to check into labor and delivery, as I started reading, and a lot of women in pregnancy forums were saying that if you have super high blood pressure, you really should not, take it lightly. You should go to hospital, check yourself into labor and delivery. And that's what I decided to do. And I'm glad I did, because my blood pressure was like 185 over 100, and it just wasn't going down. Even at the L&D, they tried and they gave me, I think it was magnesium, some type of magnesium sulfate or something. And that didn't really bring my pressure down. So they gave me some time to think about it a little bit, but ultimately the doctor came back and she was like, you know what, we just have to get this baby delivered and we'll start induction process. So needless to say, I came kind of partially maybe thinking that I may be delivering this baby, and I brought my hospital bag with me, and partially thinking, well, maybe we'll just get this blood pressure under control and I'll go home and I'll have another few more weeks, and then I'll be prepping for delivery for my baby. So needless to say, once I was at the hospital, we decided we as in me and the doctors, we decided that induction and getting started with delivery was pretty much the only option, since it could get really, really, bad with the blood pressure for me or for baby. So we decided to go ahead and get started on the delivery. And so the process wasn't quite going easy. I had some type of small little pill put inside or close to my uterus to help it open up, but it wasn't really opening up. And by the time morning came, I did some research and I read that, this early on at 34 weeks, it's probably gonna be a few days. And one of my friends had also maybe not similar experience, but she went to hospital and spent 3 days totally miserable because her induction wasn't progressing either. And she told me she would never do it again. So I guess my decision was to either continue with it or to do a C-section. The doctors were great. They weren't actually pushing me to do C-section at all. They were up for, allowing me to do a natural birth. But I started thinking, like, what if I continue for the next 36 hours and at the end of it, I have to do C-section anyway, right? So I might as well just skip all being miserable and being hungry and just, being in pain for 3 days and bring this baby. And once I told the doctor, it was like 7 in the morning, May 4th, that I would like to proceed with the C-section. It was literally within an hour that Ariana was born. And I had one of my friends hop in the car and come and be there with me at labor and delivery. There wasn't much labor, there was definitely a delivery, because everything went super, super quick. Once I, told the doctors, let's do a C-section, they basically sped up. And like within half hour, I was on the operating table, I was all prepped and I was ready to go. And literally about 20 minutes later, Ariana was born. I mean, it's an interesting process, the whole C-section, because they do numb you from like, say, waist down, but you are pretty much conscious. You hear everything, you know everything that's like going on in the operating room. And I do remember one of the young doctors saying, well, let's give her extra 80 cc's of lidocaine. And I think that was a bit of a mistake, because I feel like that is something that like gave my body such toxicity that like right after C-section, I was just so sick. It was like 12 hours of constantly like throwing up and just having nausea and not being able to hold even water that I drank. But needless to say, so let's go back and to the point where you hear everything and you see, well, you don't really see, what's happening, because you have a curtain that's like, halfway through your body. So you can just hear, but you can like look around the operating room. And it goes pretty quick. It's about 20 minutes. You kind of have the sensation. It's really strange, because you have like the sensation where someone is like inside your guts and like moving stuff around and pushing and pulling. And then all of a sudden you hear the baby cry and you're like, oh my gosh, she is out. So I knew it was going to be a girl. And it was very quick. They basically just covered her with something warm, plugged some IVs in her. And that was pretty much it. I saw her for about 10-20 seconds. And then she was whisked away to the NICU. And she ended up staying there for quite some time. She stayed there for 3 weeks. And because of the COVID, I wasn't able to come and visit her and see her. So all I could do is basically go home, pump milk, and bring it to her to the hospital. It's a little emotional, but anyway, it turned out pretty good. So she's healthy, I'm healthy, and that's pretty much all that matters and that counts, right? So after about 3 days, I stayed in the hospital, not hospice, hospital, 3 days. And so I had the baby Monday morning, and then pretty much on Wednesday, I was ready to go home, but they said, we still want to watch you and see that all the numbers are back and that you're not in, super bad pain. So Thursday was the day where I got released, and one of my friends came and picked me up. And I remember it was such a beautiful day. It was just like sunny and gorgeous outside. I think after 3 days in a hospital, and I had my windows kind of shut, so I could sleep during the day, because literally at night, the nurse comes and wakes you up every 4 hours because you get your pain medication. And then I came home, and for about 2 weeks, I recuperated, and I would say I bounced back pretty quick. I do have this biomat, which helps tremendously. So it gives like boost of energy and speeds up healing. And I think it helped me recuperating after giving birth. And then I was basically calling hospital every day and finding out, when is Ariana coming home? Like, how is she doing? Is she eating good? Is she breathing good? The doctors and nurses were amazing. It was actually in Chicago's UIC hospital. And every day I would call and have like a video call. So this was my pretty much only way to see the baby and to kind of connect with her. And sometimes I would just call her name, and I could see her waking up and just like thinking like, who is this? Where is this voice coming from? You know, she kind of knew that I wasn't there next to her. So she's been home since Memorial Day, which is almost, actually a little bit over 4 weeks, and she's almost 2 months old. So she was born on May 4th, and she'll be 2 months on July 4th. So 4th of July coming up in just a couple days. So needless to say, I'm super, super happy. Like I said, that, you know, it wasn't quite planned C-section. I mean, it was an emergency either, but at the same time, you know, I'm glad that everything worked out perfect. She is healthy. I recuperated quick, and it was, you know, hard. It was hard to have her in the hospital, not hospital, and to be at home alone, especially on Mother's Day. But at the same time, I thought about it, and I'm like, well, I don't have family here, so it would have been much harder if I had to take her home and take care of her while I'm super sore after the C-section and recovering. So it worked out beautifully, where I had a few weeks to recuperate, to get better, and be ready for her a few weeks later when she came home. And at the same time, you know, she was tiny. She was born at 5 pounds and 14 ounces, and she needed to get stronger and to get bigger and better at drinking milk too. So at the same time, it worked out perfectly for her because she had this amazing, you know, crew of nurses taking care of her, like super specialized, trained for NICU nurses. So I could not replace that type of care, right? So I am going to try to show her to you. She actually had some food and fell asleep. But here she is. Here's baby Ariana. And she has beautiful long lashes. And as you can see, lots of hair, lots of black hair. She has, I think, grayish eyes. I'm not sure. So far, I think her eyes have been brownish or so. And she's been eating well. She gained weight. She's almost 10 pounds. And as you can see, she's got the shirt that says, or maybe you cannot see this, so very loved. And it absolutely is true. She's my little sweetheart. So thank you so much for watching. I will make some more updates soon. Take care. Bye-bye.